A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India's diplomacy is at a defining crossroads, reflecting both confidence and vision. In our recent days, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has engaged with some of Asia's most influential leaders from China and Russia to Japan and Singapore, putting forward India's agenda of security, connectivity and cooperation. These high-level engagements not only deepened bilateral ties but also reinforced New Delhi's role as a key architect in shaping Asia's future.
India's diplomacy is stepping confidently onto the world stage, blending strategic depth with a clear vision for Asia's future. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's recent tour from the SCO summit in Tianjin, China to the Indian-Japan annual summit in Tokyo highlighted New Delhi's ability to balance multilateral forums with strong bilateral ties. In China, PM Modi's talks with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin underscored India's role in shaping regional security and connectivity, while his address at the SCO plenary pushed for reforms to meet the world's emerging challenges.
भारत का हमेशा से मत रहा है कि मजबूत कनेक्टिविटी से केवल व्यापार ही नहीं बल्कि विश्वास और विकास के द्वार भी खुलते हैं। इसी सोच के साथ हम चाबहार पोर्ट और इंटरनेशनल नॉर्थ साउथ ट्रांसपोर्ट कॉरिडोर जैसे इनिशिएटिव पर काम कर रहे हैं। यह खुशी की बात है कि एससीओ भी समय के अनुरूप इवॉल्व हो रहा है। ऑर्गेनाइज्ड क्राइम, ड्रग ट्रैफिकिंग और साइबर सिक्योरिटी जैसे समकालीन चुनौतियों से निपटने के लिए 4 नए केंद्र बनाए जा रहे हैं। हम इस रिफॉर्म ओरिएंटेड माइंडसेट का स्वागत करते हैं।
Prime Minister Modi's participation at the SCO summit was hailed as a diplomatic success, reaffirming India's image as a constructive and credible voice within the grouping. By engaging major powers and advancing India's priorities, PM Modi reinforced New Delhi's position as a bridge builder in an increasingly divided world.
I think he made a very substantive and consequential speech. The central point was that to us, SCO indeed stands for security, connectivity and opportunity. This is quite remarkable the way Prime Minister has presented this interpretation. So overall, we can say with a clear conscience that India's participation in SCO summit is a notable diplomatic success. This will produce better results.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Tokyo for the 15th India-Japan Annual Summit with Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru gave fresh momentum to the special strategic and global partnership, broadening its scope across defense, the economy and the people-to-people ties. The summit produced a series of landmark outcomes, from a joint vision for the next decade and a security cooperation declaration to an action plan for human resource exchange. The two leaders also launched an economic security initiative to safeguard supply chains and unveiled India-Japan Digital Partnership 2.0, featuring a new AI cooperation initiative to shape the technologies of tomorrow.
So I think the Prime Minister's visits to both Japan and China were very successful. I think in Japan it was a bilateral visit. It has set the perspective for the future of Japan-India relations for the next decade and more. Very important decisions were taken on defense and security cooperation. In fact, it was so significant. So even whether there is Quad or no Quad, the bilateral cooperation between India and Japan in the South China Sea on defense and security matters will continue. And also on technology, Japanese technology being used for making products of high defense value, including a communication antenna for naval ships and so on. So all this has been a great positive, a great movement forward.
The message was clear. India's rising influence is helping shape the Asian century. New Delhi is emerging as a bridge between nations, a driver of integration, and a credible voice for stability in an uncertain world.
India has become an influential power which will, along with other Asian nations like Japan and China, and in fact you must remember that most of Russia is also in Asia, which will be at the helm of the creation of what Prime Minister Modi has called the Asian century. This has happened, it is one of, if you like, the byproducts of the new respect that India has achieved, because India has become what you might call a star power, because it stood up to a superpower on principle, not out of aggression, not out of any fickle behavior, but on principle.
Wrapping up this wave of high-level diplomacy was the visit of Singapore's Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, his first official trip to India since taking office. The visit marked a new chapter in India-Singapore ties, adding fresh momentum to their strategic partnership. From finance and digital innovation to skills, aviation, maritime cooperation, and even space, the agreements signed spoke to a relationship firmly oriented towards the future. Taken together, these milestones underscored India's widening diplomatic reach, not just as a trusted partner but as a regional stabilizer and a driving force in shaping Asia's future.
From Toronto, exiled activists painted a grim picture of life in Balochistan, Sindh and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where disappearances, abductions and repression have become routine. They warned that Pakistan's new anti-terror laws are silencing dissent and branding human rights defenders as terrorists. The call from the conference was united and urgent. The international community must step in, hold Islamabad accountable and ensure justice for thousands of families still waiting for answers about their disappeared loved ones.
Enforced disappearances have become Pakistan's darkest human rights crisis, with thousands of political activists, journalists, students and ordinary citizens vanishing without a trace. Families search endlessly, staging sit-ins, long marches and appeals to courts and global institutions, yet justice remains out of reach. The climate of fear has silenced dissent across provinces, turning disappearances into a powerful tool of repression. The region has become a haunting symbol of silence, where dissent is criminalized, voices are stifled, and entire generations live under fear of persecution. Recently, in Toronto, the Canadian Baloch Congress marked the UN Day of Victims of Enforced Disappearances with a human rights conference. The event highlighted Pakistan's escalating atrocities in Balochistan, where thousands of activists including Dr. Mehrang Baloch and leaders of Baloch Yakjehti Committee remain missing or detained. Speakers warned that enforced disappearances and crimes against humanity are rising unchecked across Balochistan, Sindh and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
On the day of Enforced Disappearances International Day, I will demand State of Pakistan to release all who they have detained unlawfully. It's not fair, and as we said that Amnesty International and International Human Rights Commission and Human Rights Watch had also make this a law that it is unlawful to detain any human being, any person without any allegations and putting it at the location that nobody knows.
At the conference, speakers said Pakistan's new counter-terror laws have deepened the crisis, criminalizing dissent and targeting human rights defenders.
The Baloch Yakjehti Committee, whose leader Dr. Mehrang Baloch has been put behind bars, and the situation over there is getting precarious because now there are anti-terrorist laws that has been passed. So anyone who is opposed to Islamabad, opposed against enforced disappearances or human rights violations will be facing terror charges. So every political activist is now potentially, in the eyes of Pakistan, a terrorist. And they will be taken away, disappeared as anti-state activists or anti-state terrorists. And there will be no trials for that.
Participants also stressed that the crisis is not limited to Balochistan. They called for solidarity among oppressed communities, including Pashtuns and Sindhis, to unite their voices and push back against state repression.
We Pashtuns, Baloch and Sindhis and other oppressed nations living in their geography, we have been victims of our resources, and I think that it's high time for all those oppressed nations to have a common forum, a common platform, and to pressurize the authoritarian government of Pakistan.
Activists urged the international community to recognize the scale of violations and take concrete steps to hold Islamabad accountable.
As in our back home, Balochistan, situation is entirely worse and earth-breaking. Pakistani army and Pakistan intelligence agencies are abducting the people, and every day on a routine basis. No one is safe in Balochistan. Baloch students are abducted from classrooms, and Baloch fathers are abducted from their homes, and daughters are abducted from the streets. So all situation is worse in Balochistan. We are here to raise our voice, to bring our situation in front of the world. We hope one day the world powers and the world democracies will understand what's going on with us in Balochistan.
For many families in Balochistan, Sindh and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the agony of waiting continues. Years pass without answers and graves remain unmarked. From Toronto, the call was clear. Silence can no longer be an option. Unless the world acts, Pakistan's disappeared will remain unseen, unheard and forgotten.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Iraq reopened the historic Al-Nouri Mosque in Mosul, nearly 8 years after it was destroyed by ISIS, who had seized the city in 2014 and turned it into their stronghold. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad al-Sudani led the inauguration, touring the mosque and praying inside its rebuilt halls. The reconstruction project began in 2019 with a grant from the United Arab Emirates in collaboration with UNESCO and the Iraqi Antiquities and Heritage Commission. A bomb blast killed at least 11 people at a public rally in the southwestern Pakistani city of Quetta late on September 2nd. According to reports, the rally was held to commemorate the anniversary of the death of Sardar Ataullah Mengal, a nationalist leader and former provincial chief minister. Quetta is the capital of Restif Balochistan province, which borders Afghanistan and Iran. A powerful magnitude 6 earthquake struck Afghanistan near its border with Pakistan, causing widespread devastation and claiming the lives of more than 1,400 people. Entire villages have been flattened and thousands of homes made of mud and brick collapsed under the tremors, leaving families trapped beneath the rubble. Rescue operations have been severely hampered by flooding, landslides and debris that have blocked already fragile roads in the mountainous region.
Let's turn the spotlight on India and Germany's enduring strategic partnership, one built on trust, shared democratic values and a joint commitment to peace and sustainable growth. From trade and defense to science, technology and green energy, the two nations are widening their cooperation. In New Delhi, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar and German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul held wide-ranging talks, including on ties with the European Union. Here's more on their growing partnership. Take a look.
India and Germany today stands as natural partners in shaping a secure, sustainable and prosperous future. Their relationship is no longer confined to trade and investment. It now spans defense, technology, green energy, education and global governance. With shared democratic values and a commitment to rules-based international order, both nations are aligning more closely to respond to global challenges, from supply chain resilience to climate change. On his first official visit to India as German Foreign Minister, Johann Vadeful met Prime Minister Narendra Modi and held talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. At the heart of discussions was the ambition to double bilateral trade and strengthen cooperation on global challenges.
Der Austausch beläuft sich jetzt auf 31 Milliarden Euro. Und ich habe in der Tat die Frage aufgeworfen, lieber Jaish, ob wir uns nicht vornehmen können, das zu verdoppeln. Ich bin froh, dass du ähnlich optimistisch auf die Aussichten blickst wie ich. Deswegen unterstützt Deutschland mit großem Nachdruck, dass das Freihandelsabkommen zwischen der Europäischen Union und Indien jetzt zügig zu Ende verhandelt wird. Wir können, wenn wir wollen, dieses Abkommen noch in diesem Herbst abschließen und dann sehr schnell auch in einen Ratifikationsprozess hineingehen.
India echoed this sentiment, reaffirming its commitment to deeper economic engagement. The two nations are exploring ways not only to double bilateral trade, but also diversify collaboration across sectors like technology, green energy, and innovation.
Our two-way trade last year was almost 50 billion euros. Minister Vadeful is on record. I saw one of his interviews where he said that he was very confident we will be doubling our trade. Let me assure him that India fully reciprocates that sentiment. It looks forward to working with the German government.
The partnership also carries a strong strategic dimension. Germany underscored its support for a rules-based international order, freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific, and deeper cooperation in defense and security.
Mit Indien eint uns das Ziel, die regelbasierte internationale Ordnung zu bewahren. Das schließt natürlich die Freiheit der Seehandelswege im Indopazifik ein. Chinas zunehmend aggressives Auftreten im Indopazifik sorgt uns. Insgesamt wollen wir auch im Bereich der Verteidigung, Sicherheit und Rüstung unsere Kooperation weiter ausbauen. Der Kollege hat das angesprochen. Von gemeinsamen Übungen unserer Streitkräfte über die Beschleunigung von Ausfuhrgenehmigungen bis zum Indo-Pacific Engagement, ähnlich wie im letzten Jahr mit einem Schiffsbesuch in Indien.
From trade and technology to defense and global governance, India and Germany are expanding their horizons of cooperation. With converging interests in peace, prosperity, and sustainable development, the two nations are not only building a stronger bilateral partnership, but also shaping a future of stability and opportunity across regions.
Onam was celebrated joyfully across India and by Malayali communities around the world. The festival, marking the homecoming of King Mahabali and the harvest season, was observed with colourful poker lamps, traditional rituals and cultural performances. Streets, homes and temples were filled with festive cheer, reflecting the spirit of unity, abundance and tradition that Onam symbolizes. Every year, Kerala, fondly called God's own country, comes alive with vibrant colours, rhythmic beats and timeless traditions during Onam, the state's grandest festival. The harvest celebration pays homage to the legendary King Mahabali, whose reign is remembered as a golden age of prosperity and equality. This year too, the festival was marked with enthusiasm. Streets, homes and temples glowed with intricate poke lamps, floral rangolis that turn courtyards into canvases of art. Families came together to prepare the Onam Sadhya, a grand feast served on banana leaves, showcasing the culinary richness of Kerala. Adding to the festive charm were women performing graceful dances, people enjoying cultural games, and communities joining in to celebrate joy and togetherness.
Onam for me is like a time when everyone, like all my relatives, my cousins, everyone come together and we have sadhya and we share our stories, what we're doing nowadays, everything.
Beyond Kerala, the spirit of Onam echoed in many parts of India and abroad. In Tamil Nadu's Coimbatore, the Swami Ayyappa temple turned into a hub of devotion and festivity. The temple entrance welcomed devotees with a sprawling pokalam, while rituals and offerings created a spiritual atmosphere. Families gathered in large numbers to seek blessings and celebrate together.
Generally, we used to celebrate it in like Kerala. It is very famous. So since Coimbatore is like the most very close to Kerala, like here the equal amount of celebrations do happen. And in fact, I feel even people over here celebrate even better than that of the natives. So it is really great. And to see the beautiful Pookalam at the entrance, it is a bliss. And so like morning, I just came with my baby, so had very good darshan.
Today being an auspicious day, we have come together as a family to celebrate Onam in this very beautiful temple, Swami Ayyappa temple in Coimbatore. And very beautiful decoration, and there's a big rangoli flower decoration over there.
The festival not only celebrated the bounty of the harvest, but also carried forward the timeless message of equality, togetherness, and cultural pride that King Mahabali's reign symbolizes. Onam thus stood as a reminder that traditions, when shared across borders, continue to unite hearts and strengthen bonds. From Kerala to the world, Onam spreads its timeless message of unity and prosperity. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.